Welcome to this third part of our mini-series on what do we know about Esau or Edom. In this video we're going to be speaking about some of these key words, because in the previous video I said that I didn't want to say some of these words and then I ended up saying them anyway, because it's difficult when you're reading and trying to do a video not to kind of just read what you're looking at. But let's look at some of these words, and before that, just to refresh our memories, what we said was important to be keeping in the back of our minds is this forcible conversion of the Idumeans. And we learned that the Idumeans are Edomites. That was something that we wanted to keep in the back of our minds. And also we spoke about the Idumean people disappearing from written history. So what happened to the Edomites, and how do we know, how can we keep track of them if it's what it's saying here, that they disappeared from written history? But in this video I want to speak about these key words. Now it's going to be quite difficult to speak about this because, first of all, I'm just a layperson, so I'm not an expert in these things, and also it's very emotive topics, and also we're getting onto controversial ground. But if we start with this first word, Jew, so what I've done up this side, I've tried to put maybe what's the correct thing that we're supposed to say. What's the proper thing to say? Because if you descend from the tribe of Judah, then it's the correct thing not to say that you're a Judite. I don't know quite how you're supposed to pronounce it, but a Judahite, maybe that's better. And if you live in the region of the kingdom of Judah, then you might be described as a Judean. Now you could obviously speak more about the letter J and those things, but we're not really speaking about that in this video. But why do we have this word? Where does this word come from? And I was trying to say in the previous video that it could be something deceptive, and that's kind of why I didn't want to use it. But let me just try to give an example, because if we think about before we have learning, or let's say more understanding and gaining knowledge, we can use these words and not really know what they mean or the implications. So I was thinking about going back in time before I was on this journey. I would have thought about this word and I would have used it, and I would have pictured something when I say it, and I would have thought that's correct. Like if I give an example and we say Jesus was a Jew, I would have accepted that and said, yeah, that's right, that's what he was. But is it actually correct to say that? Why aren't we using the correct terminology? If we think also about the word Jewish, we know in the Bible, we know the people as the Israelites. So when we learn about the Exodus, we say the Israelites were coming out of Egypt. So why do we have these other words on this side? Just for an example, if we go back to this page, if we think about the source they're using for this, and the source is Josephus, and it says Antiquities of the Jews. But why doesn't it say the Antiquities of the Israelites? Because that's what the history is about. Why do we have these words, and are they actually, is it the correct terminology? And clearly we can see that it's not the correct terminology. But yeah, it's difficult to try speak about this, but what I want to keep in the back of our minds is this forcible conversion, these Edomite converts. And we're going to look into this we're going to start with this Judaism, because it's another word that it makes you think about something when you hear it. And when you haven't got that knowledge or the understanding, and you hear that word, it's going to make you think about the Torah. It's going to make you think maybe about the Old Testament, and that's kind of what you may be picturing. But is that really what it is? Okay, let's have a look at this. Okay, Judaism, it says, it's an Abrahamic monotheistic and ethnic religion comprising the collective religious, cultural, and legal tradition and civilization of the Jewish people. You see it again there. So why doesn't it say the Israelite people or the Israelite nation? And let's read this part. Modern Judaism evolved from Yahwism, the religion of ancient Israel and Judah. So we're going to speak about this Yahwism, and now they're going to teach us about ancient Israel. So now these modern scholars are going to teach us about the religion of ancient Israel and Judah. But before we look at Yahwism, just one more thing I want to take from this page. The term Judaism. Now, I don't know how you pronounce these words, so I'm just going to give the meaning of it. But it says it's coming from the verb to side with or imitate the Judeans. So now we're getting a bit more to the heart of the matter. Here we see that this word Judaism, coming from the verb to side with or to imitate the Judeans. So here we see what's real. Now we have the correct terminology, the Judeans. But this verb is saying that it's to imitate. So that's kind of what we're speaking about here. If we think about the converts, because if you're a convert, you can practice the customs and the law, and I don't really like using the word religion, but if we just use it because it's a word that we use so often. But let's say if you convert to the religion of the Israelites, you're still actually imitating. You're always going to be imitating, because the Bible, it's not just about, let's say, a religion. It's about a people. It's about a bloodline, or if you want to say it's about DNA, because to be an Israelite, you have to be descended from Jacob. It doesn't matter if you convert and you practice the religion. It doesn't make you an Israelite. You're always going to be a convert. So that's quite important to think about, because we can see that Judaism is an imitation of what's real, and that's what we're actually reading from the description. Now, to imitate in itself is not actually a bad thing, because you can learn through imitation. And if you think about it, when you're young and children, they often learn a lot through imitating and copying. So to imitate is not bad in of itself, but I think the problem is when let's say you're imitating, but you're actually misrepresenting, and that you're not actually fully disclosing that you're imitating. So then it's becoming deceptive, because now the people that are looking on, they're not aware that it's an imitation, and that's when it becomes deceptive and, let's say, evil, because now you're deceiving, because you're not disclosing that it's an imitation. And that's where the problem comes in. But let's carry on, because I want to speak about this other part, which is what they call here Yahwism. Let's just read this before we look at that page. Modern Judaism evolved from Yahwism, the religion of ancient Israel and Judah. So now they're going to teach us about the religion of ancient Israel and Judah. Okay, Yahwism is the name given by modern scholars to the religion of ancient Israel. Yahwism was essentially polytheistic, with a plethora of gods and goddesses. So now we see modern scholars are teaching us now about this, about ancient Israel, but we have the Bible, and I think many people that watch this channel will probably be keen scholars of the Bible, and they know their Bible. But what do you think about this? Because I don't remember in the Bible that it teaches about polytheism and there being a plethora of gods and goddesses. Now, if we carry on, I don't want to give too much of my own thoughts, because I have quite strong feelings about this, but I want to just present the information, and then you can, if you'd like to share and speak about it on the comments. But we'll carry on. Heading the pantheon was Yahweh. So here, straight away, look, now we're being told that there was a pantheon, but nowhere from what I know in the Bible was there any teaching about there being a pantheon. And it says that the national god of the Israelite kingdoms of Israel and Judah, with his consort, the goddess Asherah. So now they go even further, and they're saying that Yahweh had a consort, Asherah. So now they're saying that the God of Israel had a consort. So you can see how far this is going, and it's not. Is it based on truth? Is it accurate, or is it presenting something that's false? And they're saying that there was a second tier of gods and goddesses. And I'm not going to read these all out, but where is this taught in the Bible? And when you look at this, they're not giving quotations. They're not quoting the Bible to say this is what we're quoting to show what we're teaching here. But I was thinking about this because what's actually happening here, if you think about it, is that actually they're trying to make Israel, ancient Israel, like all the surrounding nations, because we know that the surrounding nations, they did have pantheons, of gods and goddesses. So they're actually now trying to make Israel just like the other surrounding nations, so that they're actually they're not actually anything special, if you kind of think about what's happening here. Whereas if we just think about the Bible, we know that the Israelites, they are special because they're God's chosen people. So he chose them, that makes them special. But this page and this modern scholars and what's going on here is actually trying to make Israel just like the other surrounding nations with this religion that they're describing. But let's just carry on. There's a few other things I wanted to bring out from this, because if we read this part here, during this period between the 10th to 6th century BCE of the Mid-Iron Age, the religion of Israel moved towards the sole worship of Yahweh. So you see they're saying that it's moving towards sole worship. But didn't it start out that way? If we think about the Bible, it's very clear what it teaches in the Ten Commandments. But yeah, I don't want to say too much because I was actually, I'll see what you think about this. Okay, let's go to another part. The progressive evolution towards, see how they use that word here, progressive evolution. So it's saying that the religion is evolving. So it didn't start out complete, and what they're saying is that it's evolving into something. And is that the feeling? Obviously, I'm speaking to people. I know that phrase, like you're preaching to the converted. I know many people watching. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. That you'll know how you feel about this already. But I think it's important just to bring it up because, what about the young people or people that are new to this? If they come across this page, that's why I'm trying to speak about it. That it's very, what's going on here is very deceptive, and it's, you could even say heresy is what's been said here. But so they're saying that this religion is progressing or evolving to monotheism. So it didn't start out that way. And they're saying that it culminated by the end of the Babylonian exile in the late 6th century BCE and by the 4th century BCE, and Yahwism had coalesced. So using very fancy terminology into what is now known as Second Temple Judaism. So the reason why I read this out is because it's difficult to try to explain everything and talk about everything in one video, but Babylon is very important to what's going on here. But yeah, this is just trying to share with you why I didn't want to say these words in the previous video, because we're starting to see that there's something deceptive going on here, and also it's going further than that. These teachings now, they're kind of like taking control, and now they've got control and teaching us about ancient Israel and what the Israelites were worshipping and what their religion was. And why is this happening? Because to me it seems like they're trying to legitimize Judaism, or trying to create, let's say, like a history, but is it like a false history to try and legitimize? Because when we look at the word, we can see what it could be saying is that it's an imitation. It's imitating what's real, and it's fine if that's what you're doing and you're honest with it, and the people that are looking on know that's what's happening. But like I've already mentioned this point, that if you are deceiving and the people looking on don't know that you're imitating, now then that's becoming deceptive and that's evil. So yeah, I didn't want to disclose too much about how I felt about this. I just wanted to kind of present the information the best that I could. But I did have strong feelings about it, and let me know if you want to share any thoughts, and also let me know if you'd like to go maybe further with this, and maybe try to see what are they basing this on, and how are they coming to this. Let me know if you want to go a bit further with it, or if you kind of know what's going on here, and because yeah, most of the people that are good with the Bible, they'll be able to see through this, and I think even people with a little understanding of the Bible will be able to see through this. But before we finish, I also want to just make this this point here as well, that for people that enjoy learning about the history and trying to see which Bible nations could be on the historical record, some scholars do connect the people known as the Hurrians with the Horites. So we do have the Hurrians on the historical record known as the Huri or the Hari. That's very close to Hori the Hittite, Hori the Horite. And so we do have a people that we could study, and could that help us learn more about the Horites if it's the same people? So I just wanted to show you that. So we haven't focused too much on Edom in this video, but without saying too much, we're actually saying quite a lot if you kind of think about all this, what we're saying, and trying to keep in the back of our minds about this history, because it's actually very important. And I think if we try and be scholars and we're trying to learn, and we in our studies we must try to keep this in our minds, because it actually could be very important when we look at other sources and we study the history, because when we see these words we have to think about what's actually going on here. When we think about these words like the Jews, and I also fall into this trap of reading these things out, saying these words, and maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should rather get in the good practice of saying what's correct and saying what's what's the truth and what's the genuine words, or what's genuine, rather than repeating these words. So I was also thinking about that recently now as well. I would like to do one more video on Esau and Edom, maybe just to share a few other things that I've come across and learned, and maybe just to summarize a little bit. So I hope this video was interesting for you, and you maybe found it beneficial, or maybe learned some things that you weren't aware of. And yeah, maybe I think one more video for Esau and Edom for this mini series. So thank you for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next video.